market mind. You know what I mean? Unfortunately.
That's true.
Especially with this Roe versus Wade stuff, like how young children interact is not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in a separate way is going to make them closer. How teenagers interact or engage with each other is not going to change. But what is going to change is there's going to be a lot of teenagers out here stuck with babies.
Mm, mm,
There's going to be a lot of 20-year-olds with babies that, you know, I didn't want to go to jail, so I had to have a baby. Like
mm,
that is going to be their reasoning based upon this law, and it's kind of like if you haven't buckled down on your parenting now,
mm,
you better
mm,
start. You
mm.
better start setting a standard and building your child's confidence and self-worth, male and female, to be like, I don't have to invite everybody to my body. I don't have to show my body. I don't have to engage with somebody in this sexual way in order for them to like me.
Yeah.
Encourage that now, because my child's dad, he lost his virginity at 9.
Mm, 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 mm,
9
mm,
to someone who is older than him. And
mm,
that is another thing where a lot of males are in spaces where they talk about different topics, and they talk about how they lost their virginity to a grown woman, but they don't call that sexual abuse. They
right.
don't see it as, oh, that was an issue. They see it as, oh, no, I was okay with it. Why were you okay with that? Why is that okay? But if my daughter is 9 and she loses her virginity to a grown man, that's not deemed okay.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
that
if
too.
go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just going to say real quick that goes to this sort of I don't typically don't like to have to identify this, but this is what it is. This just goes to that patriarchal society of owning people's bodies. That men feel like they own people's body, everybody's bodies. They own that they own how everybody uses their bodies, and I think that when it comes down to, and even to the point you were talking about earlier, which was about these states that are allowing for children to be married to these,
Mm-hmm.
presuming going to be adults. I don't think they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be married to 14 year old, going to be married to another. I don't think that men will be okay with a 14-year-old boy being married to a 12-year-old girl, because
Right.
that's not the objective. The objective is whatever they're trying to do. I guess spit out a bunch of babies as much as they can right now. But to your point about the fact that there, with this whole abortion ruling, and we haven't fixed the standard yet, we have not addressed the fact that there is so much influence right now about how people think about their sexuality at a young age, and how
Mm-hmm.
it's going to result in more children having children.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has thought that, shouldn't we just start with fixing that, what is in society first, like just not necessarily being heavy-handed or like overwhelming people with the judgment, but having a conversation about what is appropriate for a child or not. What type of apps, like you were talking about earlier, should be allowed? Why is there not a regulation on these apps? Why is it that we don't feel like it's appropriate to have those regulations on these apps? Why aren't parents calling for it? Like the fact that we have not addressed that, and we're just like, it's open doors now. Just let people be people. Let adults just choose what they want to choose for children, and not take it as a serious situation. Where do we think it's bad now?
Right.
Ooh,
Right. I'm gonna play these messages.
exhausted, girl.
I laugh at the women shaking their ass in front of their children because I just think it's silly. I think it's a bad example. Like, I don't know. That's just not something that I see myself doing. When my nephews were babies, I would never like dance sexually provocative like that. Like, I might, sway from side to side, like do a little two-step, clap my hands, stomp my feet, like do a little spin, like, twirl around or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
to start popping my cootie cat, like bend it over, touch your toes and all that in front of the kids, no. I was always told dancing like that with children is inappropriate.
Right.
Shan, I gave up bongs years ago. And I like when I was like younger, back in my younger days, I guess late teens, early 20s, I explored the thong thing, and even then I didn't like it. And I tried to wear some recently, trying to be cute. I don't know, and they still sitting in my drawer. I'm like, why did I waste my time
Girl.
buying? You can come here and get it. Sorry,
Yeah.
but I was like, why did I waste my time buying these things? Buying these things, and I know that I'm not going to wear
Listen.
these things. They are not comfortable at all.
At all.
They are not comfortable at all.
At
I
all.
should have just left them things at the store.
Let me tell you, I was at the office last week and I was like, who the hell told me to put my vagina in a trapper keeper today? I had on a bodysuit, and every time I wanted to go to the bathroom, I'm just like, yo,
Oh, the worst.
why? And I
Worst.
was like, and I tweeted, I said, men, be happy. Y'all don't have contraptions that prevent you from using the bathroom in peace like women do. Women be doing the most for an image.
Yeah.
And mind you, I wasn't even doing it for an image. I was doing it for the fact that I want to keep tucking my shirt in. Let me
Right.
just put on this bodysuit and put on these shorts. Oh my God. When I tell you, every time I had to snap that thing back, I was sweating in that stall. I said, oh my God, I am too thick for this. I said,
What?
my
I'm so
thighs were in between bodysuit like yams at Thanksgiving. I was so mad at myself.
I think
I
a prime example of this is Sukiyana. In one of her most recent videos, she was throwing her ass back. Like literally, if you see the video, she was throwing it back on this little boy. And he looked very nervous. He looked very anxious and uncomfortable. And I don't even think he should have been put in that predicament. I don't know whose son that was. I don't think it was her son. It might have been her son, but either way, I still don't think it's okay. Um, just like introducing them to sexual positions and
mm,
sexual behavior like that, throwing her big buttocks back onto this child. He couldn't have been no more than 5 or 6.
mm. Who was
What?
it?
I don't know. I said someone's name I heard of, but I don't. This is my thing
Oh
too.
my
I
God.
be I be very turned off by the women side of entertainment on how they show themselves.
Yeah.
Like it says, when I see them, I'm just like, oh yeah, you gave in too, oh you gave in too, or all of your bodies the same, or did y'all go to the same doctor?
Right.
Okay, you gave in too, but you over here trying to promote healthy parenting with your son, but every picture your titties out, or your stomach has to be out, or your shit got to be see through, or you got to squat like this to get the attention from the masses. Like, what are you like? Where are the moms that's just like, yeah, I'm a mom, I'm in entertainment, my body has been like this since high school, my 20s. I work out and I wear t-shirts and sweatpants with my kids. Why are you still clocked in working for the masses while you're parenting? And I'd be so turned off by the moms of today because it's just like, yeah, I could cater to society's measurement too of what a woman should look like, and I could be a mom too because I can afford to get my son or my daughter everything that they want. But you're still it's like a
Mm-hmm.
contradiction. For instance, the Kardashians.
Mm.
Are they gonna raise their kids and be like, if you feel like something's wrong with your face, let's go see the doctor and get some surgery done?
Too late now.
Right, because their kids are seeing their
Mm-hmm.
old images and their
Mm-hmm.
old face and their old bodies. What are you gonna say?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't have to work out. We have enough money to just go to the doctor and take some ass out, or we could add some more ass in. Or you're tired of trying to work out them arms. Let's just take the fat out. Like,
Yeah. And then
where's the process?
and then people wonder why some of these children are dealing with so much depression because they're in a race to be like someone else rather than to be like themselves. And it's a sickness on the society. Like, I love me, I still love some Lil Kim. Like to this day, I still like, damn, I get
That's a
upset
sad case.
sometimes. I get upset when I have to see her sometimes, and I just realize how much, like, I remember idolizing how beautiful, like, to me, she was like a beautiful, just confident and beautiful. I never dressed like her or nothing like that, but I did always appreciate the fact that she was a very confident woman.
Yeah.
And the fact that now you see her and you realize that she's in a race to chase what the standard, what we say is a standard with the Kim Kardashians, and obviously that Kardashian, they're in a race to keep up with themselves. Like they're trying to outdo themselves.
They over there taking their asses out now.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? So now we wonder what's going to happen now for the culture when people start seeing, oh, well, they value their health, right? Because this stuff, after a while, it will affect your health, right? That's why they have to go get a change every couple years and all this other stuff to spend all that money. And so the question is, what is the value of a person? Is the value of a person what they look like, how much breast, how much breast they have, how much ass they have, how big your lips are, like, what is the value of a person? And the fact that people don't want to have them kind of conversations, or they want to breeze over it, because now that means that you're going to look like the square or the wet blanket, you're being lame. Just come on, like, stop killing the vibe in the party. Like, just get, why you gotta have to come in here and get
Girl,
about how these kids look? What if these kids enjoy looking like that? They can't enjoy that because nobody listened to the fact that they told you that they like playing with these Barbie dolls. You told them put the Barbie dolls down and come over here and pop it. So what do you, like, you take some ownership of the fact that you gave this child this way to value themselves by thinking that they don't need to be themselves. And it's a constant cycle of people trying to chase some shit that ain't yours. Let it go. Give it,
fact,
put it in the room. Close the door, lock it. That's where it
fact.
belongs.
I'm gonna run through these messages real quick.
That happened to me a lot growing up, Shan. People would spread false rumors in high school that I was having sex when I wasn't. It wasn't like often that this happened to me. It was just boys that couldn't sleep with me
Yes,
would lie and say that they could or would
they did.
or may have already done so
Mm-hmm.
at their house or somewhere in the school, trying to look more masculine, appear more macho, like
Mm-hmm.
a ladies' man. I found it to be very disgusting and off putting because I was a virgin until I was 19. And none of the guys in high school that claimed that they were attracted to me, but I feel as though it was just lust, or none of the guys that claimed that they had sex with me ever did. And none of the guys that wanted to would have ever had the chance because I wasn't interested. I wanted to wait, I wanted to hold on to my virtue, and I did.
Mm. That's good
Some
that she got
boys,
herself and choose to be herself and do it in the pace in which she wanted to
yeah.
go.
I hope for that for all of the children because that's why they got doctors now trying to get women snatch back.
Mm,
But that's a whole nother episode.
mm, mm, mm,
I think that people, you know, like you said, Chen, they compare themselves to others quite often. That's where I feel like the self-consciousness comes into play. Like a lot of people will never admit that they're self-conscious, even though they are. And a lot of people will never admit that they have insecurities, even though they do. And so, like, when they see something within you, like they see that you're virtuous, they see that you're not sexually provocative, you're not promiscuous, you don't wear skimpy clad clothing all the time. Especially in settings that don't call for it. When they see you acting classy and mannerable and mature and ladylike, some people get jealous of that. I've
mm,
noticed that with women my own age and older women when they realize that they may be lacking some characteristics or qualities that you may have. They become jealous and envious, and they'll try to
Mm.
that's right
they
there.
try to attack you,
Mm,
attack your character, attack your
mm,
personality, just trying to make you feel low, like less of a woman, because they feel like less of a woman, make you feel, um, like you said, they'll say things like, "Oh, you think you're better than me," and you'll be thinking to yourself like, "I don't even think about you when I leave work, when I clock out, or when when school
Facts.
ends, when the school session ends. you're not on my mind. You're not even like, you're the farthest thing from my mind, basically. Like, I've literally had some women. It's kind of scary because it's like, although they think you're obsessing over them, they're the ones obsessing over you. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think about you when I go out home at night and, lay down with my man in bed, and we're being. I don't think about you when I wake up in the morning and eat breakfast. I don't think about you when I'm running errands, or spending quality time doing fun outdoor activities with my family. Like, it's just very strange. Like, people
Mm,
want to be the center of attention so badly, making these
mm,
assumptions.
mm. She said that the part right there, the center of attention. I think that might be the nail right there.
Mm,
Everybody wants a bit of attention, and everybody's projecting their thought that other people want this attention too. And some kids just simply want to be kids. Some people
yeah.
just want to mind their business.
Right.
While we're on the topic of Sukihana,
Oh,
she's a rapper. She's notably on. I don't like none of her music. Her music is like really ratchet. Sukihana, she's a rapper. She's ratchet music, whatever. But you may know her from Love and Hip Hop Miami. But anyway, earlier, Ruth, you were talking about the doctor who said that the guy didn't want to take the STD test because he was married, but he was like, having sex with the other gay men.
mhm.
She did a podcast with somebody. I don't know if you guys seen it. It was a while ago, and they were talking about. They said like 95% of your baby daddies are bisexual and y'all don't know it. But they were like, hey, we gonna be with the bisexual. The chick that she was doing the podcast was with, she was like, hey, well, I'll be with the bisexual man because the pickings are slim.
Mm,
Listen, I've talked to some of my friends about the fact that a lot of other cultures purposely marry the gay man from high school that they were cool with to have that child to be like, I did it and I'm married, but we live separate lives, but he just makes sure we have what we need and I make sure my child has a mom.
mm.
People agree to these terms
Right,
today,
right.
but from the outside looking in, it looks like, oh, here's a married man who's faithful with his wife and they have kids and they have the house and they have the dog and they have the cars and everything's all great, when in actuality a lot of people do feel like, okay, I got to this part of my career, I have this money, I have this house, I have this car, I have the ability to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't have that man of my dreams.
Mm,
Oh, I remember my gay friend from college. They're single too, but we both want kids. Let's just have a baby together. There's so many people who are like, no, we are not married, we are not together, but we just have a kid together because we couldn't find nobody.
mm, mm.
That's a personal choice, and
Yeah,
that comes with its own pros and cons, just like everything else. But yeah, that is happening in society. Women are like, shit. It's like a lot of people love to say this, especially about Atlanta. It's like, 14 women to one man. I mean, he's gonna have other women, but what are the pros of being with him at least? What are the pros with having him give me a home, or having him give me a life? Or yeah, he cheats but he buys me a bag every time he gets caught.
right,
Yeah, we have kids and we have this house, and whenever he gets caught or he cheats or society finds out he cheats and it's not a secret no more, we go on a trip or he buys me a car. Like, where are your morals at? Where is your
right.
standard at?
Well, I think that's the absurd part of it, is that there are many men that are out there. Now, if your preference is to be with a specific type of man, that's like perhaps your preference is you want to be with just black men, then yeah, you're narrowing your window here. But if it's anybody that is a man who's going to love you, take care of you, match you for what you're bringing to the table, then you have there's many options out there. I have sisters who just, that's their preference is specifically black men. And sometimes I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have your preference, but I am saying that you should not close your door to the fact that, so whoever that is that's out there for you may not look like who your preference is.
Yeah.
And there is then at that point, in that point that you're making, now there's that extra now there's that limitation. And then it almost bleeds into like now there's less standards because you're willing to settle for anything. You're willing to settle for anything based off of this very narrow preference. And I can't tell people not to, because people want what they want. But when it comes down to being clear about how we're trying to project things on children, I think
Mhm.
that's when it becomes a whole different conversation for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's too much. It is too much. And like you said earlier when we started this, nobody's thinking about the kid first. It's just like, what do I want? What don't I have? And
Mm-hmm.
how can I fake it to make it look like I got it? But the reality is just like, do you want to raise your child or your children in a way where you tell them, make sure you tell the truth, make sure you're honest, make sure you're forgiving, make sure you're empathetic to other people, and then they get to like teenage status and they start to see like, oh, my dad really doesn't live here,
Mm.
or your friend that's a woman that you go shopping with, you go grocery shopping with, you go on trips with, dad never goes. That's actually your girlfriend.
Mm.
My
Mm.
thing is like, who I am at work, who I am in the grocery store, who I am is when I pick up my kids from school, who I am when I'm home, and who I am in front of my mother is the same person.
Yeah.
There is no switch up. I know plenty of people who have a switch up who's just like, oh no, this is how you carry yourself here. And this is how you carry yourself here. And this is how you politely tell somebody it's none of their business. All of that for me in my life is the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so cross it if you want to cross it. And if you assume that I'm about to put on a different face or a different tone because we in the church parking lot, you are sadly mistaken. Because I'm gonna let you have it, because
Yeah.
I think I think putting on an image or this fake facade that you are this when you're really not is not helping society either, and it's not helping our kids know who they are either, and it's not teaching our children confidence, because our children will, children will be like, Mom, why did you say you can't wait for them to come over Sunday when you really don't like that lady?
Mm-hmm.
They will check you quickly before you even shut that door. To the point where sometimes I have to tell my kids, hey, I know you don't like X, Y, and Z, but you don't have to tell them you don't like X, Y, and Z in front of their face. Just if they ask you if you want to do this, just say, no, I don't want to.
Mm.
Just teaching them how
Yeah.
to politely say no instead of being like, no, I don't like you. Your breath stinks.
Yeah.
You know? And also like self-checking. A lot of men, because they're scared that their boys might grow up to be gay, or their girls might grow up to be a lesbian, is because you're doing too much and it's not in a balanced way,
Mm.
man or woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're too scared to tell your child, make sure you spread them butt cheeks and clean between them cheeks because they funky, because
Right.
you don't want him to be gay, or you too scared to talk to your child about how to properly dispose of a pad because her mom not home.
Right.
As a man, and you have a daughter and you don't want her to be talked about by society or be smelling in public and not know it's her that's smelling,
Or
you need
get
to be
sick.
able to be appropriately be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I know your mom's not home, but you have to be aware of yourself, your armpits, your breath, and your privates.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you should go use the restroom and,
Mm-hmm.
and handle yourself appropriately. And yes, if you want to pass a baton to the mom and be like, hey, when you come home, please talk to our daughter about properly handling her feminine napkins, or properly refreshing herself in the bathroom because she wasn't aware that she was funky all through the house. I thought the dog shit it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, those are the conversations you must be having,
Yes.
because if you don't, this person is going to go to work to a corporate workplace that has great health care, and another woman's going to want to use that bathroom, and she's going to go in that stall and it's going to smell like the farmer's market.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing about it. You're talking about confidence, like the fact that a child should have the confidence or grow into the confidence of how to take care of themselves, and it not be considered a taboo to do so, right? Or if you're talking about a child having the confidence to be able to tell somebody that I don't like X, Y, and Z, and the person doesn't have to accept it or accept it. It's just I'm telling you what it is, and
Yeah.
that's just what it is. And I love hearing you say that you teach your daughter that it's okay for her to be able to say no to people, and that's just what it is. No, there's a period, and just keep it moving. And you don't have to
Yeah.
have an explanation. You don't have to tell somebody whatever you think they want to hear or whatever. And I think that's a part of the confusion that's happening in these social media circles, where children don't have that. There's no check, right? There's no checks and balances. It's just whatever's happening. You see people post comments. People are reassuring the behavior that they're seeing, because people don't know how to have the confidence to say no, or I don't like this. And if they do, they feel like, well, I'm gonna be ostracized, or I'm gonna be the odd person out because I'm saying no. I don't want to be uncomfortable around people who may think that I think that I'm better than them because I'm saying no. It's not a matter of better than anything. It's a matter of I have a standard. This is something that is my standard for me, and I choose not to partake. And hopefully, other people who see that will be able to imitate that and be like, you know what? I didn't know I could say no before. I didn't know I could have the confidence to have my standard and stand by it, and put a period and keep it moving. I didn't know that until I saw someone else do that, and I think that that's why more adults. I would love to see more adults speak up and say, these things that we're seeing is inappropriate. Maybe take it a step further. This woman who's out here dancing on her child's, if I understood correctly, it was her son. That was her baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the fact that she is doing that alone is child endangerment, right? The things that we think are child endangerment is just does not make any sense. That what we think is child endangerment, and the things that should be, we just ignore it to say it's just a culture. She's gonna survive that and be fine. How you know that they don't like that? How you gonna try to judge them on the music that they're listening to? So what if it's talking about popping pussy and all this other stuff? It's just a song. I've heard people say that it's just a song. So if it's just a song, why are you upset about me calling out a standard? Why don't you just have your period dot and just keep it moving? Because what it's doing is it's calling to shame about your own behavior, and you people don't want to be called to shame about their own behavior when it comes down to them settling or accepting inappropriate behavior that children are doing because they're mimicking an adult, and nobody stood up to say, wait a minute, you're a child, go play with them toys, go in your room. And even with the millennials, I noticed this too. I noticed that millennials would be like, "Oh, here comes somebody. Here comes the old lady. Here comes the old lady to come make us feel all kind of way because she's ashamed of herself, and you don't have the confidence." You're warping what confidence is, and you're warping and misinterpreting what a boundary is because you're
Perfect timing, Eruth. I'm happy you said this. Today, both of the girls want to go out and ride their bikes. So I was like the street monitor, okay? And we putting out the bikes. We putting up the bikes because it's about to get dark. And Anya's like, Mom, what's wrong with your bike? Why you won't ride it? I said, ain't nothing wrong with my bike. I'm fat. And until I lose some more weight and I ain't got a
did not
pedal to use a damn bicycle, I'm going to chill on that and I'm going to lose some weight until I'm comfortable and I don't have to overwork myself to ride the bike. And then we could all ride our bikes.
yeah,
What I did is I owned what she thought,
right.
right? And a lot of women who are older run away from owning the perception of how they look to other people
Mm,
because they
mm,
are ashamed of how they look and they don't want to be honest about how they feel. Not only
yeah,
might I look fat to my child compared to her body size, but I don't feel like a buck 50.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And when younger people see women who speak to them about standards and self-worth and how they carry themselves, they give them like a bad badge of honor, like, ugh, all right, what's wrong with what I got on? Or here she goes, she gonna
Mm,
say something. It's sometimes because a lot of older women don't own that. It's not that when you get to your 40s you're gonna look like me. It's if you get to your 40s and you don't take care of yourself like I didn't,
mm,
you might look like me. And that's ownership, and that's being accountable for what you aren't doing. Because I've seen a 79-year-old man on TikTok look like a 30-year-old man, fit as shit.
yeah.
And he works out all the time, and he takes care of his body, and he's completely vegan, and he looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is when people are not ashamed of who they are and their failures, they'll speak light into younger people, and they'll treat their kids a bit better. The problem we have now in society is there's so many older people who feel like they have the right to have a say about what younger people do today, that were not taking care of themselves. And so out of jealousy or bitterness, they speak down upon what's different.
Mm,
And I'm not saying everything younger people do that's different is right. Some of it does need a boundary, some of it does need a correction. But when you go to give younger people today a correction,
mm,
keep
mm,
one hand keep
mm,
one hand ready to protect yourself, because they
mm.
have no bounds. And
Yes.
know that they were probably raised in a household where there were no boundaries, so don't shame them for it,
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
That's true.
So we got 9 messages. I'm gonna run through them.
Yeah, let's run through.
Because they have insecurities and because like
Boom.
um they just want acceptance. Well, everyone wants acceptance, everyone. Um, and whether it's from your friends, whether it's from your significant other, whether it's from society, everyone wants to be accepted, or feel as though someone accepts them and someone loves and cares about them. And for those who don't, I would imagine it's a pretty miserable existence. I would imagine. Um, I just think that, you know, I think that the girls who did that to me, like oh, you must think you're better than, or whatever, I don't think that at all. I never thought that. I think they don't feel good about themselves
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and that they don't think they're good enough to hang around me. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. You said it. Oof.
That right there.
I know a lot of men that claim that they were statutorily raped, because I do consider it rape, even though, like,
Yes.
because a lot of people, they think that, oh, only women can be raped. No,
Yep.
sometimes men get sexually assaulted too. Um, it doesn't make it less serious, or it doesn't make it any less worse, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? Basically that I know a lot of men personally that are now in their 30s that have told me, oh, I'm getting emotional, that they were sexually active, I would say at the youngest age, like 13, the
Mm.
oldest being like 16, with an older woman, a woman old enough to be their mother, like in
Mm.
their 30s and 40s.
Mm-mm-mm.
And it just really like made me want to vomit, because I just think to myself, like, what would make you want to sleep with a child? Like, what would make you?
The same
Right.
reason. I think the same reason why men put women in position to sleep with their children. There's women that think that they are masculating a boy into a man.
Mm. Wild.
I think that, like you said, a lot of young men don't consider it as statutory rape, even though it is, because there's like this thing with toxic masculinity, and a lot of guys try to like debunk, or like, I noticed that like on some of the guys on stereo, they'll try to like say, oh, toxic masculinity is not a real thing. It was just made up by feminists, extreme feminists. I disagree, because there are a lot of men that do abuse their authority, being masculine, having
Mm.
testosterone flowing through their veins. A lot of men can be overbearing. A lot of men can be domineering and controlling, especially of women who they feel as though are the weaker sex. And I've witnessed it on numerous occasions. Trying to intimidate women, trying to like bogart their way into women's house and all that, like follow them home, like harassing them, demanding sex. I see videos like that all the time on YouTube and then World Star, just men laughing at sexual harassment, laughing at abuse and sexualization of children.
Disgusting. Ugh. And that's, you see what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Why have none of those gone viral with us calling out those men for that behavior? Why are there no men that will stand up and have discussions for other men to tell other men about this type of behavior? That is not happening.
I have a question, but I'm gonna write it down on a sticky note until I go through these.
Okay.
But what she said brought up a clip from So Shameless podcast that they were discussing, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Guys, what's up, Sham? What's up, the low? I can't read the rest of your name. Sorry, I didn't check. But such as children we create in society. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier on, like not as a full topic, but it just came within the topic, and because we were talking about loads of things. But yeah, like North wearing a fucking corset and all that shit. Kim letting her wear a corset, and you know, just the fact that some of these kids out here have Instagram accounts that are open, not even private. You know, it's very disturbing to me as someone who grew up without social media. Social media wasn't even created when I was born, when I was growing up. It's crazy because pedophiles used to like pay for these pictures. Now they can just go on Instagram.
Yes, that is. I'm writing my note too. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, this comes back down to a single mother household. If there's no father in the picture or male role model, then whether it's a male or female, they're going to have issues because the mother is trying to play the role of a father. Genetically, she cannot do that.
Not always, but I do believe in balance in relationships with a father and a mom. But sometimes, and I know of plenty friends who had both dad and mom in the household, even in the church, and they purposely go left every time. Sometimes the personality that of the child that's there is, I want to do what they told me not to do and I'm going to do it, and that's what I do. Whether they're in a single mother's household or a single father's household or both, sometimes the child you have with the personality they have is they just go against the grain. So that's not always the issue, but sometimes depending on the personality of your child, not having a certain parent around or not having that bond does leave room for them not knowing fully who they are, so they try everything. So yeah.
So in terms of the toxic masculinity, to continue where I left off of my other message, I think a lot of young men, when they're like teenagers and even like preteens, like 11 and 12 years old, I've noticed this. A lot of them are told, "Oh, you better get some coochie cat.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a wuss. You don't want to be seen as some sucker. You don't want to be seen as a punk." And sometimes they'll even be what's the word I'm looking for? They'll be told, "You must be homosexual if you're not fucking," and they're being told this at 13 years old, like as soon as they hit puberty or even like before puberty. You better get your first taste, or you want to get your penis wet. You want to explore a woman. You should experience a woman. It's very sickening. I hear this, like the young men being told to grow up faster than they should be. They're not being allowed to mature and learn and grow on their own. They're being like,
yes. But then you tell the daughters, you better put on them pants, and you better put on that long shirt, and you better put on them stockings, and then when you put on the stockings, you better put on the socks, and then you better put on the boots. God damn! You better make sure as soon as you come home, you better wash everything in that kitchen, and then you better make sure that you clean up your brother's mess, and then then you better make sure that you make him something to eat, and then you could do your homework, and you better go to bed. Like that, it'd be so extreme.
It reminds me of that movie, that Robin Hood movie. It's a satire movie. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a part in it where the woman, I guess whoever the woman that he's trying to be with, she has to wear this chastity belt, and that shit is
Yes,
like, right?
it's so
Oh my
biased. I
god!
hate it. I hate that
I
whole
say put the
mentality.
chastity belt on all the kids, but we shouldn't even have to do that if we were just letting them be children. We wouldn't even have to think about that because they're going to get to the
Listen,
age when they will be adults and all that will be
yes,
appropriate.
it reminds me
Mm,
of it reminds me of how married women be on the internet defending their whole husband that can't stop sleeping with their friends and women. And they were like, "Oh, you gonna wear this T-shirt that says you married to me, and I'm gonna put my face on the back of your T-shirt, and I'm gonna put my face all over your boxers to be on the defense of these horrible women out here." When really, no, sis, you chose to marry a man who was a hoe, thinking that
right.
was going to change who he was.
Yeah. That eventually allowing him to be who he wanted to be would give you who you wanted, and it's not. It's not.
Girl, it'd be so embarrassing. I'm just like, oh my god. You know who's the worst at this? What's the one that be on Love and Hip Hop? I
Who?
don't watch it. I don't watch it no more. But she's from Rashida. Rashida's horrible at
Oh,
this.
oh.
And Mary, her sister. Ma'am, I don't care how long you've been married to this man. If out of all the women this man could have cheated with on you multiple times with, he cheats with your best friend,
Mm,
and you still in interviews having him wear a t-shirt that says Mary, you
mm,
have bigger issues. The
mm.
same thing with kids. If you have to basically put your child on probation for them to follow what you say and have a standard and be in the good with you, then there's a bigger issue.
Yeah. Yes. And I
There's a
wonder
bigger issue.
what is it going to take for people to be able to see, to take themselves outside of themselves, to be able to see that other perspective. And a lot of people are stubborn. They don't want to be able, they don't want to do that because doing that would make them feel like they have to feel ashamed for even being in that state of mind, which you shouldn't be ashamed. What you should do is realize, okay, I'm learning and I'm figuring out some things that I thought was appropriate. I know now that it really isn't. And here's why. Because of all these other things that everybody has listed so far tonight, which is the internet and the freedom that people have to just be able to tap into and experience whatever they want to in the privacy of their own homes. People who are doing very perverse things could do whatever they want to do. So there has to be a level of responsibility, and learning that is the point. Not to be able to shame people. It's just to be able to know better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely don't agree with that. You know, the hyper I'm so tongue tied. The hypersexualization of women or men. I don't agree with that at all.
Mm,
I don't think women, like young girls, young ladies, children should be hypersexualized, and I don't think that men should be hypersexualized either as children or as adults because
Mm-hmm.
it's creating a lot of lust, a lot of like,
yes.
how do you say, like unsacred bonds, unsacred. And what I mean by that is people are, you know, becoming so hypersexual, not just in their appearance, not just, you know, verbally like talking dirty, but like they're acting out these things that they're seeing and hearing, and you know, it's creating a lot of children out of wedlock and creating a lot of less fueled relationships that don't last.
Mm-hmm.
That part.
A lot of young
Mm-hmm.
men feel pressure to have sex at an early age because of this toxic masculinity that is being exhibited by their elders, by their uncles, their fathers, their brothers, who may already be sexually active. I mean, especially their parents, because their parents are already sexually active. I mean, that's how they were made. A lot of young men, I was told, you know, they didn't want to be looked at as a punk or as being as being homosexual. They didn't want to be bullied and called gay, even though they knew they weren't, just because they weren't having sex. And a lot of young men, like on TikTok, I don't know how old they are, but to me they look like they're under the age of 18, like between 13 and 17. You see them talking about oral sex, talking about bumping and grinding, and gyrating their pelvises and all that. And I just don't find that appealing, you know. And I don't even like to think that these are the people that are influencing the youth, you know, changing the minds of the masses.
And I get here in Atlanta that the pickings are slim. Yeah, it is like 14 minutes every one woman here. But I don't give a damn. I'm not settling. I don't care if I have to spend the rest of my life trying to find a faithful, good husband or whatever. If he's not doing right by me, not doing right by my kids, I'm not staying with him. I don't care. If it's meant for me to be alone, I'll just be alone. I'm not settling. I'm not staying with no unfaithful man. Because I'm not gonna be happy, and I choose my own happiness over just settling. I'm just not gonna settle. So hey, if you know, I if I can't be with somebody and they're being faithful and honest and true and whatever all that gushy love stuff, then I'll just be by myself.
That part. I have something to say to that, but I'm gonna hold it. We almost there.
Like, and by changing the mind of the masses, I mean influencing the masses of youth, like making them think that this is appropriate for children to be doing. I don't want to see children under the 18 on TikTok bumping and grinding and
Me either.
gyrating their pelvises and flicking
I'd be
their
so
tongue, talking
embarrassed.
about how good they can eat it and beat it up. No, that used to be something like in the Black community you get popped in the mouth for, or you get smacked on the hand, or you get a whooping, if someone catch you like doing that kind of stuff. But like now, I don't blame Tiara for her child's father, telling her children not to go on TikTok, because it's a lot of children behaving in an adult manner, and I don't like that.
I got something to say about that too.
Look, I knew something was wrong with our society when I found out that, what's her name? I think it was Brooke Shields. They let her be in Playboy magazine at 10 years old. And I said, why was this allowed? Just like you said, Eruth, they're allowing these children to, be on these porn sites, be on these websites or whatever, and they're just Googling. It's just sickening. And I'm like, how was this man, Hugh Hefner, allowed to put this little 10-year-old girl in an adult magazine? I knew something then was wrong with our society. It was just over there. Like, I was like, I'm done. Like everybody say, it's ghetto here. Earth is ghetto. Like, I'm done. Like, I knew then that it was over with. It's a done deal. Stick a fork in Earth.
Listen. Yes. Thank you, Funfetti Cake and Tierra. What's up, Brianna? Kev. Okay, Eruth, you go. What did you put on the notes? Because I got notes for what was said. Those are all good.
I'm still trying to find my fork. Because I so appreciate that. Like, this is the thing, right? When because I say, I believe that too. There's a whole thing going on with the Earth is ghetto. Like, but the crazy thing is, like, it's the people of the Earth that's ghetto. Like, Earth is beautiful. It is like sustaining. It gives us all this beauty for us to experience and love and all this stuff. And then you get the people, and you're like, God damn, y'all. Ugh. Like, okay. So for me, I feel like there's a couple of things that stood out that I really appreciated everybody was saying. And it's that part of, like, you don't have to be uncomfortable. And Funfetti was talking about this, like, there are people who feel like these little boys who are on TikTok who are just really mimicking each other. They believe like this is what they're supposed to do because there's nobody else stepping in and saying, no, you're absolutely not supposed to do this, right? So I'm going to share a page that's on TikTok.
Thank you for taking your time to check out this episode. It is a Pod Fam collab. Eruth, great mind. Okay, you can find her on Stereo and on IG. And myself, Shan, you can find me at Shamby Poddin. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to check out the shop. She Gets It Shop for all your merch needs. And you can donate to the show in the red circle link below. Back to it.
Just for example, it's called Mercy Karma, MERCYKARMA. Now, I feel kind of weird sharing it because I feel like me sharing it now is giving it's now other people will look at it, and then the people that we don't want to look at it is probably gonna find it anyway. To I think I don't know if it was Tierra who said this or not, or I can't remember the other lady who said it. She probably said that she had a British accent, but she was talking about how there are people online that get this stuff for free now, right? And so this particular page I'm sharing with y'all, this whoever wants to take these pictures of this child who is actually being these pictures are being posted by her older sister, who basically is to me is exploiting her younger sister to get likes, to get more people to go to her page. And when you see the comments of what adults are leaving on the page for a child, ooh, those lips, ooh, those eyes, ooh, look, excuse me? It's not anybody. And so when you see other people who are looking at this and they are uncomfortable, but they are even more uncomfortable with speaking up and saying something and then being ridiculed for it because they have a standard and they're trying to point out the fact that this is inappropriate. And so that was one thing that stood out to me. And then I'll go ahead and give the floor back to you, and then I'll share my next thing.
All right. So, the fact that R. Kelly got 30 years and somebody on Twitter was like, so how much time is the parents getting? And I said, that's a whole different conversation. But it must be had because these kids had to be put in a position that was inappropriate in order to get that close to R. Kelly. And the girl, a friend of Aaliyah that was around her when she was, 14, around the studio with R. Kelly when she was recording, said that she told that sexual things were happening between him and her, and nobody believed her. They basically hushed her up. And so when that's happening, it's kind of like, yes, you have to hold parents accountable. And when Funfetti was talking about lust and over sexualizing people is creating just lust between people, and lust is temporary, is quick. And I think that's why we have so many unfulfilled people today, because they've been hypersexualized, and then that fades, and then they don't even know the person they were next to, or they move in after like 2 months of knowing each other, and now I'm stuck with this person on the lease for at least 2 years on some roommate shit. Even teaching kids that, what Tierra was saying, she chooses herself every time to not be with a man who doesn't do right by her, which you should. Teaching your children, even on a friend tip, even if this is your friend and you like this person, if they do something to make you feel bad about who you are, or they make you feel bad about telling the truth, or they make you feel bad about yourself, period, and you don't feel comfortable, if telling them no makes them not your friend, fuck it. Teach your kids to be like, okay, bye, and even grown women have a hard time being held accountable a lot of times by other grown women that don't condone their bullshit. And when other grown women don't condone other women's bullshit that needs to be checked, that's when they get really nasty, and they be like, well, you just lost a friend. Did I really? Did I lose a friend? Did I lose a friend or did I lose a grown woman in her 40s not being accountable for her bullshit?
The latter, for sure.
Listen, and you have to teach your kids to be able to walk away from people that don't bring you peace.
Yes.
Something Funfetti said that made me think about these parents not checking these kids, but even how you check your kids. A lot of times how these parents check kids is not for the internet to see. Stop embarrassing your kids on the internet for clout.
Yeah. Yes.
If you going
yes.
if you gonna whoop your child's butt, guess what? Turn off the internet. Close the phone. We don't need to see it.
After that.
If I have to go for my belt, you think my mind is like, oh, let me go get my phone. There's gonna be a TikTok moment. It's
Right.
gonna do numbers. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Oh, you about to get this ass whooping in peace, girl, and you gonna go to sleep, and you gonna feel really good. And I'll see you tomorrow, and I'm gonna cook you breakfast, and I'm gonna love on you tomorrow, and I'm gonna talk about why you were wrong.
Right.
You know. Right. So this whole generation now that's like basking in clout, numbers, followers.
Yeah.
Let me do this, let me do that. It's kind of like, no, that's not it. Another thing, I'm super honest about how I raise my kids to the point where I tell my kids things that most parents won't. Like if I get a memory of the first time I shaved my purse, with no how to, I told them, I said, let me tell you about the first time I shaved my purse and how I thought I broke it because I could not stop scratching because I didn't use any shaving cream. I had that orange razor in the bathroom going ham and I paid dearly and I would never do it again.
Right.
I told my daughters that. So when they see my razor in the bathroom, they was like, oh, hell no. Nah. I heard enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that is how I do preventative parenting. I'm not going to sit in here and act like I was a saint. I'm not going to sit in here and act like I ain't never did nothing stupid. I'm not going to sit in here and act like every job that I work was the best and I ain't never walked out of a job and been like, oh, you not about to talk to me any type of way. I quit.
Right.
I have. But I'm also going to tell my children why I did those things. What was the result of it? So they can make an educated choice on what they're going to do.
Yes. Yes. But people are not thinking that. People are not being that thoughtful about that because I think people want to be reassured about the things that they don't want to face because then that makes them uncomfortable. And the irony about that is that children are uncomfortable watching these things. I remember when that song "Pop That Pussy," hey, pop that pussy, babe.
Yeah.
When that song came out, I was like, "Why is this on the? Who's allowing me to listen to this on the radio? It's on the radio. Like, is nobody gonna turn this off?" I remember being a kid and checking, like, wanting to check the adults around me or the older siblings around me who didn't think that there was a problem with that. Like, and I'm from South Florida, so if anybody has ever,
you know everything about Luke and the 69 Boys.
Girl, everything, okay, too much of and it goes, and this is back in the 90s, so this is even before the internet where you got a chance to, like, this is when you can get in trouble for this is when people were taking pictures with their Polaroid cameras, going to get them developed at a wherever
yes, Kodak.
Yes, and people were getting calling people, defects was being called on parents for certain type of photos because they were trying to address the sex trafficking situation even then. Now this is on the internet now. Like, we're so open and anybody can just have access to whatever it is that they want to have access to, which is why I think people have to be more careful about what they're protecting. And so what that whole thing about like adults not understanding boundaries. So for example, Boozy, what he was doing with his children. So there's a thing, in Florida, the governor is trying to stop, he's trying to identify that drag shows are inappropriate for children to be at. Now, here's the thing about, like, this is the thing that I hate about our society is that there's people that you typically don't disagree with, and then there's things that they say and you're like, well, yeah, I agree with that one. And once you agree with that one, everybody's like, well, you agree with everything they say. No, Sometimes things are just wrong. I think sometimes things are just right. And so if there is a standard that Boozy should not be having his child around a woman shaking her behind, and the child is slapping the behind, or
Mm-hmm.
taking it a step further, which is criminal, and allowing for a woman to perform oral sex on a child, then you could also then say, even though it's at a different scale, it's still inappropriate. You can also say that we already know that when adults are around other adults, we act like adults. We do
Mm-hmm.
things. We don't do children things.
Ask any Dominican that had a party for a child at 12 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. Exactly. Or in the Caribbean, because sometimes you go to
Yeah.
go to them house parties and you see people whining on, and you're like, okay, so
Look, here you go. Who that baby sleeping in the coat room?
exactly. Just had enough. Like, I can't, get me out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we see things like that, and you can say, okay, well, yes, in an adult atmosphere, yes, I understand you want to teach a child who is not who is in the LGBT, potentially showing that they may be in the LGBTQI community, because you hear a lot of people LGBTQI community. Sometimes you hear people say things like, "Oh, I always knew that you was gay." To a little boy or a little girl, like,
Mm-hmm.
no surprise to us. We've been knew that, right? So you have
Mm-hmm.
like, well, if that's who you are, if that's what we're acknowledging that you are as a child already, well, why not just come out to the drag club, the club with us adults? And it's because why you would not come out with those adults is because you're still a child. When that
Right. Like it's like, yeah, I got two daughters and they got vaginas. That doesn't mean I'm going to uh
takes to the strip
like
club,
even like let me take you into this birth right now. I want you to sit right here in front of this person's crotch and watch this baby come out. Or
right?
let's all, you know what we're gonna do today for Saturday for fun? We're gonna all get tampons and we're gonna all put them in. Like, I'm not gonna do that. There's a
Yes,
time when this comes, when I will tell you what this is. I will show you what this is. I will put you in a space where you will hear other women talking about what this is. I will even take you with me for my annual to see what happens.
right,
But I'm going to now, because you're not at that age, take you to school, and I'm going to have my appointment after I drop you off.
right,
Like, it's limitations. It's kind of like a father and son. Just because we're father and son, and when you were little, you take showers with them.
right.
A father knows at a certain age, all right, my son old enough to know how to wash his body now. I'm not going to be in the shower with my 13-year-old son taking a shower.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, we got 5 messages. I still got more notes.
Okay, no, let's get to the messages. Let's get to them notes.
Okay.
When I was at the gym the other day, there was these boys and they were all in this little room and they took their shirts off and they were taking pictures of each other for social media. Now, I don't know how old they were. They were young. Maybe they were teens. Maybe they were like in their 20s. I don't know. But it just kind of made me think like, wow, I got to stay on top of my game. How do I look? Am I okay? But then it was kind of weird because it was like, is this too young? Do they feel pressure? Is this healthy? Or I don't know. It just kind of made me think.
I laugh at that. I laugh at young boys wearing their shirt half on when they walk down the street in this Georgia heat. I laugh at the fact that you wearing jeans skinnier than mine, but your pants is sagging and
Oh
your
my God.
boxers
Oh
are slightly pink.
yeah,
I laugh at that because you're just telling me how old you are, right? At the same time, the same bird chest I felt like my brothers had when I was younger, I feel like they have as fathers of four today.
mm,
Like, I feel like it's just kids trying to figure out where their identity falls in this world.
yeah. And having really bad examples from adults about what the value of a person is. That's all based off of vanity, which
Yes.
actually means nothing in the end.
Yes. Like it was this video on TikTok where this girl was in the gym and she asked this guy that was working out that was like, "Look at my muscles looking." And she was like, "Is it cheating if your girlfriend has a trainer that helps her work out?" And he was like, "Well, is he better looking than me?" And she was like, "Does that matter?" Yeah, if he's better looking than me, no, she can't. That's cheating. If he's not better looking than me, then she could. Yeah, she could work out with him. I'm just like, well, goddamn, the insecurity is high.
Right. It run deep. Like,
Like what?
yeah.
But that's society today. Got 4 more from Funfetti.
I agree. I don't think you should remain friends with or date anyone um, if you can't accept when they tell you no. If someone tells you no, I'm not in the mood to have sex, although you may be disappointed, you should accept that and respect that. If someone tells you no, I don't have any money that you can borrow, I don't have any money to spare, and
Yeah.
they tell you no, you should respect that and accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, I don't know if you ever heard about this, but like in the hood, like you'll tell someone I ain't got it right now, I gotta pay my rent, I gotta pay my car note. That
Mm-hmm.
person will then turn on them and rob them 9 times out of 10. If it's
Mm.
someone who's shysty, shady, like untrustworthy, especially if they're desperate and like living in worse circumstances than the person asking for money, they'll like rob and turn. That song For the Love of Money, people will kill their own parents and
Yes.
Yeah.
and then steal from their friends. Yeah, it's a
They
prime example.
smile in your face. Don't want to take your place. The backstabbers, backstabbers.
Yeah.
It's just like if people don't respect the simplest of boundaries, being told no, I don't want to be kissed, hugged, touched, I don't want to have sex, whatever. Um, and they
Ooh,
explain to
just
you,
remind me of something.
it's just because I like my personal space. It's nothing against you. Or even if it is something against them, you just tell them, no, I don't want to be touched. They should respect that and accept that. You shouldn't be invading someone's like personal bubble, and like, just understand, like, put yourself in their shoes. Would you want to have someone like force themselves upon you, impose their thoughts and beliefs and their will
Right.
upon you? No, you wouldn't. But because people hate being disappointed and people hate being told no, they don't respect it.
Yep.
Funfetti, you just hit a nerve with me with that because I need society to teach their sons not to be the "where my hug at" boy in the hallway.
Mm. Mm.
No girl, whether it's middle school, high school, on the playground, or in college, wants to hug that musty, ain't got no self worth awareness boy talking about "where my hug at."
Yeah.
Your
Mm.
hug
It
ain't
is.
nowhere to be found. You need to go check the lost and found at the office because I don't got it. What?
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Teach your kids early that nobody owes them shit.
Yes.
Um, if you like a girl and they don't like you back, then okay, she don't like me back. I don't need to cuss her out. I don't need to talk down to her, and I don't need to be mad about my friend that she likes. Teach girls that every boy you like is not going to like you, and if they like one of your friends, you can still be friends with that girl. You just need to know your boundaries, and you just need to be comfortable with the fact that that person is not for you. Appreciate the people who are not for you. All
Yeah.
my exes, all 5 of them, I wish them the best in life. If they got married tomorrow, congratulations to them and that woman. God bless her heart. But I know for sure that they are not for me.
Right.
It doesn't make them horrible people. It doesn't mean they should get the guillotine off with their heads. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there are people who there are people who did not hire somebody because they didn't accept their sexual advances.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are people who would not sell someone the house based upon the color of their skin. Not because their credit score wasn't high enough, not because they didn't have enough money, not because they couldn't afford it, just because we don't like people that look like you living in our community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, teach your kids that. Teach your kids that what is a friend.
Yes.
My
Yes.
children are so like, wait till I find me another child. I'm gonna make them my friend. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I'm just like, well, let's discuss this.
Right.
You saw this person yesterday. You don't know their middle name. You don't know their parents. It hasn't been a month since you saw this other human and they're your size, and I understand that. That is not your friend. And Anya was like, well, what makes them my friend? I said, after you get to know somebody for a while, months, weeks, how do you guys interact with each other?
Yes.
Have you seen this person happy, sad, mad, uh, whatever? After you get to know someone long enough, then you could call them a friend. But just because you met somebody yesterday and y'all played together real quick and it was like 15 minutes outside and it was before the sun got dark and then I put up my bike, that's not your friend.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Super important. Okay, we
Well,
got 3 more. One from Brianna and Funfetti.
Another thing these boys need to stop doing is the cougaring. They see this stuff on TV about strangers hooking up unprotected, and they're like, ooh, let's try it out on her. No, I'm not going to be your cougar. Now, is your dad single? Because I'll talk to him.
right.
Period. Okay. I see what the genetics can do, but where is the tree of the genetics?
Mm, mm, mm.
It's to the point now with men in their 30s, I'm just like, oh, you're cute. Where's your daddy? Is your daddy in your life? Is he happy? Is he single? Is he done with being married? Oh, point me in his direction. Does he still have a landline? Even better. Like, what?
Because it's a maturity. That's the thing, and that's the thing too. Like, there is, okay. So even though some of this toxic masculinity did come from, men of the boomers and Generation Xers, and now it's just came all this poured over to the millennials, and now it's pouring over to the Gen Z. Like, this is a constant problem within our society. There are good men who have standards, who have expectations for their sons and their daughters about how they interact with other people, because they understand long term, if you are behaving like an adult before you are mature enough to do so, then you are going to have some consequences in your life that you're not going to be ready for. You're not going to be ready for being a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, what you call it, boy that is a father, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are men who will definitely chime in and say, I want my son to be able to be a boy and then be an adult and then get his own, right? Own his own before putting himself in a position where he is taking on this responsibility. They're there. So if women are wanting men who are having these standards, definitely should be out there looking for it. I definitely, or not necessarily looking, open to it. Not necessarily open to it.
Oh my gosh, this is so much to be said. Lord. Okay. We got some more messages.
And some people can't accept rejection. For every person that is not comfortable hugging you, that doesn't want to hug you, there's someone else who will. For every person that doesn't want to kiss you, make love to you, be intimate with you, there's someone who will. There's no need to force yourself upon others, making them feel uncomfortable, invading their personal space, violating them. There's no need for that. And I think it's important to be with people within your own age range, because there's different maturity levels, different developmental levels, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. That relationship that R. Kelly had with Aaliyah should have never taken place. And I feel really sad to hear that she was violated and taken advantage of. She was preyed upon by an older man who knew exactly what he was doing, but he didn't care because he had a bunch of enablers around him. And I guess he thought his money would free him from any of these charges.
Mm.
Yeah. A little too late. A little too late. It's unfortunate.
When I made that comment about you don't have to beg and plead and try to force someone to be affectionate with you or be intimate with you, if you are desperately seeking companionship or a relationship, just try your best to wait patiently for someone who is just as interested in you as you are in them, and then longs to and desires to be affectionate and intimate with you just like you want to be with them. But like, you can't force someone to love you. You cannot force someone to have sex with you. You shouldn't even dare attempt to or try to. And that's what I meant by that last message.
Yes.
Yes, Shan. We first of all, when my oldest son, he's 16 years old now. We had to first, because he was our only child for a long time. We had to instill that in him first, telling him everybody you call is not your friend. He'll go outside and spend 5 minutes with a kid he just met in the neighborhood, but already, oh, that's my friend. That's my friend. Be like, boy, that ninja ain't your damn friend. Stop calling everybody your friend. Now we notice that our 10-year-old is starting to do this. Like, everybody is his damn friend. We like, no, we done been through this with your brother. Yeah, everybody ain't your friend just because you met them and they in the neighborhood today, and don't mean that they are your friend. We tried to like let them know they're gonna be a good friend based on how they treat you. You can't notice they're your friend in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot more that Eruth wants to say, and I want to say. Who kept looking for the message? We have to part two this because this is really long, and we were not expecting it. There's a lot more that I want to say. I want to speak on kids eating disorders or why they're taking pills. I want to speak on kids' feelings. I want to speak on the fact that girls and women make up 80% of sex trafficking victims in the US. I want to speak on the accountability in kids' clothing. I want to speak on Eruth kind of touched on it, but we really didn't go into it a lot. The amount of sexual abuse cases with our children in daycares, in schools, on the school bus. I want to speak on kids being really depressed now and kids being put on hard prescriptions for things that can be prevented properly. So I'm gonna go through the messages still, and then I want to share a few digits that are super important that might help somebody listening tonight, and I'll go over the same numbers on the next episode too. We got 3 more messages.
Seriously, for real though, like one time when I was working, I didn't see the person because this was like a kind of rough neighborhood. It was in the hood, but they like ran by, like on Mrs. Doubtfire when she said a runaway fruity when she threw the pineapple at the guy's head, or I think it was a kumquat. But anyway, the guy he ran by, he was like, MILF, MILF. He was like yelling that while I was working. And mind you, I don't have no children. And he's never seen me with no kids. So I don't know where he got the idea I was a MILF. I guess he thought I was older because I carry myself in a very like mature manner in public. And like, he was just like, yeah. And I'm just like, this horny guy, he lost his goddamn mind running around the street talking about MILF. And it wasn't until I like Googled it, I didn't really fully understand what MILF meant. Mother they'd like to F.
I don't have the energy for anybody younger than me. I don't. And any woman that feels like she has the energy for that, all prayers to you, sis. All prayers to you. Enjoy. I don't.
Well, I think that
Yeah,
concept
I'm
of
like,
the MILF is exactly what is going on with when we're seeing those women who are like Kim Kardashian very early on. I don't know if everybody remembers this when I think she had the first one, maybe the second child, and she was just on the internet with a picture of herself in the mirror, just straight naked.
Oh yeah, I
And now
remember
she's
that.
crying about, oh, my son is gonna see my sex tape, and oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. That is just for the show.
Let me tell you something. When I saw that and her mom was sitting on the couch like, Yeah, you need to get your lawyer on top of that. When sis, you were there encouraging her.
Exactly.
You were there at those photo shoots telling her to pose like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Exactly.
Ma'am.
And that is definitely something that we want to cover in part 2, exactly like how it is that people have found this what the Kardashians are doing to be trendy, because people are trying to catch up in the race of being to have what they have. And that goes back to the question of value. So definitely want to add that to part 2.
That's why it was so funny when she was like, every woman can have what I have. You just need to work hard. What? What, sis? What are we actually working on, though? Let's talk about that. I bet she wouldn't want to have that conversation. Kev!
Hey y'all, what's going on? Good night, ladies. One of your callers, I've been listening for a while, kind of in and out of consciousness, but one of your callers made a really good. Hold on. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, made a really good point about the lust we have, and I think
Yeah.
that's the central. I think that's the central problem. I think because like in Europe and other countries, people wear no clothes, they dance, there's nudity on TV, kids are exposed to a certain type of sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
nudity, and all the other stuff without the lust, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think we are overly lustful. I don't know if it's due to porn or I don't know.
Well, that goes with the body positive thing that we're talking about, right? Like with the little boy, the little girl, the woman coming down the slide and hitting the boy in the face with her butt. And
Yeah.
in that country, it would probably be nothing. Like, oh, what's the big deal? She felt like,
Yeah.
what's the big? Here, it's like, oh, the potential of
It's
what.
not, and I even get pissed off when people make such an uproar about, oh my gosh, she was in the park with children and she just pulled out her breast to feed her child.
Oh,
Bitch, every child at this park was breastfed. You done sucked on some titties. Why are we still getting irate and up in arms over a woman feeding her child with her nipples?
that is what is the misinterpretation I was talking about earlier, and that those are the type of things that go viral, and people will be shaming a woman for doing what she naturally would do anyway. But it's okay for a little girl to put on some lip liner, or somebody to put a lip liner on a little girl and a filter and full makeup and have her flicking her tongue and blowing kisses at somebody. If I was at somebody's house and your 3-year-old walked up to me and went, mwah. Oh, hey, hold on here. Hey, like I am screaming bloody murder up in your house. Okay, first of all, we have a conversation. Why did she do that? What? Like, even if it's innocent, even if it turned out to be nothing, the fact that if that child is doing that around someone who is going to be enticed or have the lust to want to
And
take
that
advantage of
is
that.
it.
Ooh,
Because when I'm laying in
ooh,
bed and my boobs might be out and my 5-year-old is a titty girl, she comes in here and she just tapping away at my boobs. And I'm just like, all right, come on, man. You can't do that to nobody else. Okay.
right,
It's not appropriate. And she was like, I know, but you could just give me a squishies toy and I'll stop playing with your boobs. And ma'am, that is not how this works. You just need to learn to keep your hands to yourself. And playfully, she'll like squeeze my boob. And I'm just like,
right,
all right, you can't do that. And that's what it is. If she was like touching my boob and squeezing my boob and nothing was being said and there was no conversation being had, that is the start of the issue. Because if you do
right.
that to someone who is not me,
Yes,
oh, they gonna have a call. They gonna have a conversation. They gonna have somebody come visit the house randomly. They gonna want to talk to me about why I got pictures or artwork of women bodies and is this a safe place for a child? Is you have to have the discussions. Let's stop
exactly.
acting like these elephants in the room are not here.
Right, that part.
All right, we got Tiara, and then we gonna summarize this part, and then yeah, we'll close up. I appreciate y'all.
Look, I know y'all trying to get out of here, but let me tell you, it ain't nothing trendy about them bitches. See, y'all don't see. It's time for me to go. Y'all about to get me out of pocket. It ain't nothing trendy about them dang on witches. I've been over them these damn Kardashians. Chris don't do nothing but sit there and exploit them. And boy, trendy, like trendy. What are they trending? They ain't did nothing but appropriate black culture to get them where they want to be in life, and they damn mama ain't did nothing but exploit them for the millions and millions of dollars they have. Them damn witches ain't trending. I'm over them. I can't. When they gonna go? When they gonna be away?
They're
I'm over
not.
these damn Kardashians
They're never
and
gonna go.
these Jenners and whatever the hell. I'm over these folks. When they gonna be gone? When is them gonna be over with? Cause I'm
What's gonna
done.
be so
I'm ready to stick a fork in
interesting
they behinds too.
when their kids come out with the show. Now
Yeah.
that right there with them little yays and little
Oh
Kanye's,
my
I'm,
God. The
I'm
little,
gonna be like, well, let's see what the results have put in. Let's
yep.
see this, because that's
Yep.
gonna be the raw television I need.
Yes. That's what people will be watching to find out if they turned out like their parents. And unfortunately, yes, they are trending because people see the money that comes with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
this lust for the money, and it's lust for the vanity, and that is at the heart of what we're seeing, and that's why it's trending. And not for me, but for a lot of people who will make excuses. Well, they're allowed to make the money that the way they want to make their money. Okay, we'll see in the next 20, 25, 30 years. We'll see how that turned out.
Right.
Yeah, I have to do that with my girls too because they be touchy feely on me too, and I have to tell them about personal space. I have to tell them about personal space with each other and me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, look, you cannot do that. Stop doing that. It's inappropriate. Y'all are, you gotta just teach them about personal space.
Hmm. But
Even though,
my son used to squish me and Kevin's belly, like just you'll be in your sleep and you just feel, like wake up to someone squishing. What? Why are you here? Stop this! And he would look at you like, well, you're in the, I'm listen, I'm supposed to be here. You're wrong. Let me finish. No, you're
yeah,
squeezing my stomach. It's making me uncomfortable. And to this day, it's out of all my children, our youngest son is the most inappropriate. Like there are people like, have you ever played The Sims?
no, I've never played it.
They give you different characteristics, and some of the characteristics of some of these people, like the avatars or whatever, is
Mm,
inappropriate. Like person that's inappropriate. They don't know their boundaries. They don't know, and there are children that just don't know. Like they're not. That's not what and it's to your point, which is why we have to have conversations with them to let them
yeah,
understand that there are boundaries. But child, I was like, okay, what you're doing here. If I had not said anything, only God knows what else he would have found that he needed to with his hand to go start squishing at somebody else's
yeah,
house. You know what I mean? And that sometimes it starts like that too. Sometimes it's not even a matter of somebody abusing a child. Sometimes it's a child not understanding their boundaries. And then, of course, if you open up access to giving them a cell phone and they're watching TikTok, and now there's no there's no being vigilant. They're being vigilant. There's nobody watching to say, "Hey, hold on a minute. Okay, I saw what you saw. Tell me what you thought about it. Okay, why do you think about that?" But anyway, like I said, part two, part two.
yeah.
It went so fast,
Yeah,
Shannon.
that's what I
I
always tell
know.
my adopted little sister. Because yeah, I know she's young and impressionable, and I know that unfortunately, some other children have been violated at her age, like between
Mm,
ages of 4 and
Oh
9.
no.
So
Oh.
I always tell her, like, always make sure she keeps her hands to herself, and that the people that she's around, whether it's her classmates or like an adult, make sure the adults and her classmates keep their hands to themselves. But I
Mm-hmm.
right.
tell her that none of them should be putting their hands on her butt. None of them should be putting their hands on her private area.
Mm-hmm.
None of them should be touching her mouth, like kissing her on the
Mm-hmm.
mouth or nothing like that.
Yes.
And none of them should be like rubbing on her chest, so, like where her breast would be if she, starts to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So when she starts to develop. So, and even now, like, I just tell her, don't let anyone touch any of your no parts, your no areas,
Mm-hmm.
your butt, your vagina, your breast,
Your mouth.
and
Mm-hmm.
That is also something we'll talk about next
Yes. Yes.
episode. Um, So much.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, man.
And of course, it's awkward, but I would rather tell her that these areas should not be touched by any of her classmates or any adults. The only time that she would like be touched there, like if her mom is like washing her up in the tub, because she's between ages of 5 and 8, or like if she's having trouble wiping her butt,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to teach your children how to wipe thoroughly, like you said, feminine hygiene. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, no one should be like, fondling or nothing, like groping, none of that inappropriate shit. And I'm sure no kissing, because we all know kissing leads to other things.
Yep. Yep.
All of those things. I would like to thank everybody from listening in and sharing things and dropping messages. Ugh, so much stuff to talk about next time. We're not sure when the next show would be, the part 2, but we will have the part 2. Just got to check some scheduling stuff. But I wanted to share a few numbers. I know we did touch on a lot of serious topics and a lot of things that may have happened in the past with people. But the Rape, Abuse, and Incest Network number is 1-800-656-4673. The National Eating Disorder Association number is 1-800-931-2237. If you're experiencing any type of domestic violence, whether you know of someone dealing with it or yourself, it's 1-800-799-7233. Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline is 1-800-422-4453. And suicide prevention, which we touch on the next episode, is 1-800-273-8255. I am a person where I don't like talking about issues and problems if I don't have solutions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things that we talked about in this episode, the solution is just having a conversation and
Mm-hmm.
not acting like it's not happening, and not acting like you could put your kids in a bubble and shield them from the world that does not think like you.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it. I'm not saying, let me tell my child what a trans person is or what they do sexually because they might meet one day. I'm not saying that, but teach them to just treat people, no matter what they choose to do in their life, with some respect. Teach them to treat themselves with some respect. And there are boundaries for stuff. I'm not saying that you can't watch this ever in your life. I'm just saying because you are 8 and I am 35
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen some things appropriate for my age, you're not there yet. And when you are there, you're free to watch whatever you want to watch. Is that. And if you live on this bubble where you're just like, well, I don't want my child to have to clean their room, and I don't want my child to have rules and boundaries, and I think my child should be able to walk around my house naked. I think my child should be able to sit on their dad's lap naked and my lap naked, and I think they should be able to do this and do that, and I have no problem bathing my 13-year-old myself, and they don't have to do that either. Cool. But I'm not going to waste 20 minutes in your comments under your post bashing you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this is we just have to get to a point where we save our energy, but at the same time, as a mother, as a woman, as a human being, you will never see me comfortable taking my kids to a park and watching a male or a woman rub on a child inappropriately or
Mm-hmm.
do something inappropriate to a child and not speak to them directly for it, or get some type of authority that they have to listen to talk to them about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if I don't know them from nothing. I'm not. If I feel like a child is screaming and not wanting to go with someone, just like Eruth said on a completely different episode, oh, we gonna have a problem. We gonna have to see something at the door. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrong later, then I'm willing to be wrong later. But for right now, I'm not sure what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure out what the situation is. And until we start being like that for other human beings,
Yep.
a lot of shit is gonna get through some loops.
Yep.
Good show, Eruth.
Yes, yes, it definitely was. And I was just saying, like, I was looking at the time, like, damn, we started it. So I'm like, how did we, like, there
I
was
know.
so much to cover. You had like a whole list of questions that I know I know it came through in the themes throughout the night and different points that were made, but
Yeah.
we definitely have to do a part 2, part 3. It really is an ongoing conversation, discussion that needs to be had. And I remember when I first came on the stereo, this was like me and Kevin were talking about this a bit, like child abuse, and it is something that I think not enough, it doesn't have enough vigilance, it doesn't go viral enough for us to talk about just before it gets to the abuse part, right? There's a whole conversation about this, what we were talking about, the imagery, the stereotypes, the influence, the discomfort, the taboo, all these things that nobody talks about, and how it makes it to social media. And then you have people in the comments who don't, who either are for it or against it, and the people who are for it can't tell you why. They're just sort of perpetuating and parroting what they're seeing from other people, and or nobody actually stepped in as an adult to have that conversation that you just can't put your hands and be squishing anybody's anything. Like none of those
Yeah.
things happen, right? But what I would like for us to continue to talk about, I would really be interested in what privacy laws are already on the books for how children are engaging with social media, and then what responsibilities do parents have for that. And I know right now everybody wants their freedom and they want to do what they want to do, and it's my business and my child doesn't have to this and this and that. Well, once you go to the internet, nothing, and you have your pages are not private or anything like that, it is no longer just your business. You can't have
Mm-hmm.
your cake and eat it too and be like, well, I get to publicize my child doing inappropriate things and you don't get to say anything about it. This is my business. No, 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 no. It's too late now. There's like a whole 7 billion people that have access to what you just did now, and everybody has an opinion. I also want to talk about, are we going to make standards go viral? Like, can we figure that
Mm-hmm.
out somehow? And then also the power of continuing to talk about the power of no, or being or what it feels like to be the odd person out when you're trying to stand up for something that's right, and being okay and confident with being that person. There sometimes you might just be that lonely voice and everybody else is coming for you. And sometimes I find myself being that lonely voice, and I'm just like, and I'll say it like, I'm gonna be that person that says this. I'm sorry, but I'm really not sorry. Or sometimes I don't even say I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be that person. And sometimes you'll have people who will support it and be like, oh my gosh, I'm glad somebody else said something. And you'll have 100 other people that'll be like, you're being weird. Or that's, why would you even look at it that way? I'm asking the exact same questions of y'all too. Why are we all looking at it this way versus this other way? So I want to talk about that. And then, of course, bring examples. Definitely share some pages. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
let us look at what we're seeing, what we're talking about, so that we could be able to even examine it. Maybe I might be overthinking. Maybe I might be doing the most, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to learn another perspective about what is it that we're saying that we want to have standards about. But I definitely think we should bring some examples, and then we got to talk about the MILFs.
Okay. We got one more message, and then I just hope I'm raising kids that don't pull out their phones in an emergency and actually help. Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me play this message.
Hey guys, thanks for this topic. This is a very interesting one. I just to just to add to everything, I think I think another point is that you should never. I don't believe personally in I don't believe personally in really kind of just giving different parts of your body sort of like fun names,
Right.
especially when it comes to kids. I think you
Yes.
should just give them the names that everybody would normally call them as, because when you give them different names, and if they are open to any sexualized scene or any sexualized environment, they're not going to necessarily relate to those names. So it's best to just give them.
Correct. We'll talk about that. That's gonna go
Yes.
under
What sexual
uh,
language? I thought.
body appropriateness and things.
Yes. Okay.
Um Because there are grown men out here that don't know there's many holes to the human vagina.
Yes. And women.
That too, sis. You can do things, magical things you didn't know. But yes, I will edit this, chop and screw this, and have this up Monday. It would be on She Gets It Pod, which is actually a podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. I will share clips on Shambi Pod and on IG and on Twitter and on TikTok. Other than that, I hope y'all come through for the part 2. When there is a part 2 scheduled, I will promote it on at Shambi Pod and on IG, as I always do. That is Eruth. You can find her on here and on IG and on Twitter. I am so happy this conversation didn't go left. I am so happy people kept it on topic
Yeah.
and just really shared what needed to be shared. And I hope something was said to make somebody that does not have kids rethink how they may add to the negativity of this,
Mm-hmm.
or speaking up about something. Yeah, good
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. Y'all have a lovely night. Keep speaking up. Be the odd person in the room and be okay with
Yeah,
it.
that's a
Yeah.
fact.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.